via satellite all across North America. Welcome to Album Network's world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page. Tonight's special is brought to you by Sears, by Mounds, and by Dentine Gum. Hi there, I'm Redbeard, and over the next 2 hours, we'll celebrate the merging of rock and roll's most influential living guitarist, Jimmy Page, with the soulful, bluesy voice of former Whitesnake frontman, David Coverdale. Their first project together has created a wave of anticipation, not only here, but all around the world, since word first got out that these two fine musicians were collaborating. The end result is a powerful musical statement that's aggressive and electrifying, as well as emotional and reflective. David Coverdale and Jimmy Page will join us for a behind-the-scenes look at the album Coverdale Page. Plus, I'll have information on how you can win one of 4 autographed Epiphone Les Paul guitars backed by Gibson. It's the world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page, exclusively on the Album Network. Coming up.
Dentine wants to know, have you Page?
And I'm David Coverdale. Welcome to Album Network's world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page.
Whoa, what a way to start. That's Waiting on You from the debut project by David Coverdale and Jimmy Page, out in record stores across the world this Tuesday. I'm Redbeard, and to fully understand how the creative partnership between Coverdale and Page was formed, there are a couple of unresolved issues that I'm sure fans of both David and Jimmy would like to know. To begin with, from 1987 through 1990, one of the biggest rock bands in the world was Whitesnake, selling just under 20 million albums in a very short time span. So the obvious question to David Coverdale was, what happened?
I'd had quite enough, thank you, to be honest. During 1990, I was a terribly, terribly confused chap, which is not half one of those cowboy leggings you use. It's a guy, okay? I was privately and professionally. I'd really lost focus of the blues roots and the blues bass that I'd always wanted to use as a vehicle for songwriting and performing, and gotten caught up with the moose abuse, the videos, the over flamboyance and stuff. I think had I done any more, I would have ended up in a frilly shirt, and that's not what I got into it for in the first place. So I really, when we move across to Jimmy, he'll reiterate that he was wanting to really get going on something, and I was really wanting to get out of it. Everything that seemed to be important was not the reasons why I got into it in the first place. Okay, so I'd actually retired.
And I called him back and said, yes, let's get together. And so this was the meeting in New York that you're referring to now. And the most important thing was to see how we get on socially, because if we were going to embark on any project, we had to see, first of all, how we get on as two guys.
Absolutely.
And that was, we got on like a house on fire.
Think speed metal's something new? No way. Jimmy Page started it all. It's the world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page, and that smoker is called Feelin' Hot. Following a very successful first meeting in New York where it was obvious that David Coverdale and Jimmy Page were getting along just fine, thank you, it was time to take this prospective creative merger to the next level. Here's Jimmy Page.
Well, the important thing, once we realized that we were getting on, pretty well socially, was to take things one step at a time, because it doesn't necessarily mean that if the next step being writing, see if we could actually create together, because it doesn't necessarily mean to say that if you get 2 heavyweight characters working together, that it can be, completely fulfilling or fruitful.
Yeah, sometimes it's oil and water.
And so while this dangerous liaison in New York was still under wraps, we decided to get together in Tahoe and see how we could get, how the writing would be. And if it wasn't going to happen, then we could shake hands and just keep the whole thing quiet.
Well, we shook hands also, just the 2 of us. We left our mutual representatives, and because in no way, shape or form was this a corporate suggestion, and the fact that we were both on Geffen Records was coincidence.
Really?
This had really nothing to do with that. And we certainly agreed that we wouldn't be dictated to in any way, shape or form.
You've earned that.
We sat down to just the 2 of us and said, if this does work, if we have the obvious pleasures or whatever to take it further, onto the road, other than just making an album together, we agreed there and then that we would feature Led Zeppelin, Whitesnake, and the Coverdale Page material, all put into the blender, as it were. Very exciting. Very, very exciting. But what Jimmy said, this one step at a time we've implemented.
Required from each of us, on this writing project.
It's funny you should use the word quality. My next question is, what expectations did each of you have as far as quality standards if this collaboration was to go forward?
A little more than the machine we recorded it on, actually.
Tell me about that.
Now we picked up a $50 condenser mic cassette player from Radio Shack, which literally should be donated to the Smithsonian because we did everything on it. We are both firm believers of in the concept of a song, and the fact that the song ought to be able to stand up as naked as nature intended, without all the trappings of whatever. I mean, in essence, most of the songs were composed on acoustic guitars. The very first day we sat together, we came up with Absolution Blues. The very first day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which was quite a potent indication of things to come.
What does it feel like when you walk out of the first session and you've got a cassette in your pocket and you've got a song?
Totally invigorating. It was, I mean, what a way to start. Yeah.
Wow. That's called Absolution Blues. It's the first song David Coverdale and Jimmy Page wrote together for this album on the very first day they started writing. I'm Redbeard, and there's plenty of great music from Coverdale Page, plus information on how you could win one of 4 Epiphone Les Paul guitars, backed by Gibson and autographed by David Coverdale and Jimmy Page. Also, 125 runners-up will win a set of Gibson Brightwire guitar strings. So grab some paper and a pen, and I'll tell you all about it when the Album Network world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page continues.
I think it's without doubt the best showcase or whatever. It's certainly the best work for me since Zeppelin. But then again, I think we got the best out of each other.
That's Jimmy Page. I'm Redbeard, along with David Coverdale, welcoming you back to Album Network's world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page.
Now, on many of the Whitesnake songs of the last two Whitesnake albums, your singing seemed effortless. But on many of these new songs with Jimmy Page, you sound like you're working hard.
Let me tell you, it was an absolute blast. He gave me foundations.
Did he push you?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, when he came in the studio, when I was doing vocals, I'd try too hard. I'd have to say, do us a favour, go and have a pint while, forgive me, that's an English expression, pop next door for a coffee while I do this and then come in. But it was terrific. I'd go in and wail on this, Feeling Hot, with the basic guitar, which was more than enough to give me the launching pad that was necessary to go up to the vocal stratosphere. You and your keys. And, I'd wail on this stuff, and Fraser and I'd go, this is, I think, when he was doing the Hall of Fame, the Yardbirds Hall of Fame thing. I thought, right, let's get a couple under our belts before he comes down. And then he'd put a couple more Page crunch guitars on there, and I'd sound like Donny Osmond with asthma, so I'd have to revisit the bugger. No, it was terrific. What I'll tell you, Redbeard, it was great for me, and still is, to learn that you can teach an old dog new tricks. It was great. A lot of things, that in the jigsaw of a career, the jigsaw puzzle that is a career, that at the time don't make sense. Everything made sense towards us coming together at this time. I mean, I'd really thought I'd lost my passion. I'd sent the loincloth off to the cleaners and didn't ask for it back.
Yeah, we were pushing ourselves,
Yeah, it was terrific.
Each of us, with the high standards that we had.
So David pushed back a little bit?
Oh, sure, by the sheer fact that he had a great vocal. Let's face it, on Don't Leave Me This Way, what a vocal.
Oh, what a great song.
I laid these phrases with it, but
we couldn't have called it Leg Ends or Wise Guys or whatever the press has been running with.
Leg Ends.
Was it Leg Ends or Legend?
Leg Ends. That's good.
I think just the support, the mutual support system and inspiration and stuff was exemplary, wasn't it? It was just wonderful. What dreams are made of, Redbeard.
Sick and tired and lonely. Sitting in my room.
Amazing. That'll give you goosebumps. Featuring some vintage Jimmy Page blues guitar. That's the very bluesy Don't Leave Me This Way. David Coverdale also showing a lot of emotion on his vocals in that song.
Speaking of emotion, David, you have this
Mr. Emotional.
Mr. Emotional. Your proper, well-bred speaking voice is a huge leap from a Mississippi field holler.
Really?
Yes, sir. Now,
I'll take your word for it, Redbeard.
from a singer standpoint, what attracts you to singing electric blues? Why is that more fun than singing anything else?
When I was a kid at school, the music teacher, we had the music lesson or whatever, and the music teacher was ill. So the only teacher who was free for that particular period was the science or chemistry teacher, who came in. He says, I have no idea what to do. He says, so I'm just going to play you some records. Brought in the school record player, proceeded to play Lead Belly.
Whoa!
So I'm going, and he was no mean sort of blues, jazz clarinetist. That was my first introduction to...
Lucky you.
And it chilled me, whereas unfortunately a great deal of my school chums were laughing.
I was thinking about how many converts were there that day.
One.
Probably the one, yeah.
Yes,
Sole convert.
Thank God there was one.
And so I asked him, and he, played me different. This was one of those. Who was the guy who used to? I always get this confused. The guy who used to do a lot of field recordings.
Alan Lomax.
Lomax. I always say Douglas with that.
Alan Lomax. Yeah.
So he, introduced this, and for some reason, and the same reason why I have no idea why Hendrix changed my life and set me on the course of this particular adventure, this whole adventure. I was working class kid in the northeast of England, very far removed from what was called the Smoke, London, the big city where all of the clubs were going on. I would read about them in the Melody Maker, but I just. This is another thing that Jimmy and I have in common. We were both art students, which in essence, an art student is somebody who wants to express themselves through drawing or painting or in some way. And I've just heard this unbelievable expression, this outpouring of emotion from the blues singers, Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson, the most perfect everything.
He really was. He was a whole package.
And it was within a 2 or 3 minute time frame. Of being able to express yourself immediately, and I'd always been relatively accredited in as singing at school, the school choirs and all this, and I knew I was onto something when a local priest offered to bribe me into joining the choir as a soloist. That was, of course, before I brutalized my throat with copious amounts of alcohol and tobacco.
You used to get paid for singing in the church choir, right?
Yeah, well, it was a couple of backhanders, I think they're called, under the table.
That was the way it was.
So you would practice? Well, okay.
That's Easy Does It from the Album Network world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page. Now, I've been promising to tell you the information on how you can win one of these 4 great-looking guitars we're giving away. So, here's what you need to do. On a postcard, and postcards only, include your name, address, day and evening phone numbers, age, and the radio station you're listening to now, and send it to Coverdale Page World Premiere, Post Office Box 10655, Burbank, California, 91510. That address once again, Coverdale Page World Premiere, Post Office Box 10655, Burbank, California, 91510. All entries, and you can send as many as you wish, must arrive by Friday, March 26th to be eligible to win. At that time, we'll randomly select 4 grand prize winners. Each will receive an Epiphone Les Paul guitar backed by Gibson and autographed by Jimmy Page and David Coverdale. 125 runners-up will each receive a set of Gibson bright wire guitar strings, courtesy of Gibson Guitars. Now, if you didn't get all the information this time around, I'll repeat it for you at the end of tonight's show. I'm Redbeard. We'll be back with more from David Coverdale and Jimmy Page in just a moment.
Hello, I'm David Coverdale, and welcome back to Album Network's world premiere of Coverdale Page.
Very first notes, flying licks on the Coverdale Page album from the very first song is Shake My Tree. Jimmy, from a guitarist perspective, what brings you back to playing those blues licks? Like, for instance, it opens Shake My Tree. Mm-hmm. Is it, from a guitarist perspective, you'd think that by now you've probably played every blues lick known to man. And you say no way?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, there's so many out there, aren't there, yet to come, to be channeled through. I hope.
I have every confidence.
Yeah.
And why do you keep coming? Is it just more? I get the feeling it's just more fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
Yeah.
Why is it more fun? As a player, see, I don't play. Tell me why.
You're never alone with a guitar.
Well, that's correct. And every time you're playing away, and usually something new will come out if you're playing on the guitar for a couple of hours or something. And that's just one of the things that came out during, must have been about 1979, actually. Now, I've got to say at this point that there were very few things that I think either of us, brought out of our old repertoire of little cassettes and ideas.
Really?
No, everything was pretty fresh.
Oh,
but this was,
canvas.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, right from day one with Absolution.
Wow.
And but
That's
this was
impressive.
something that I had from before, which I presented at the time of the In Through the Outdoor rehearsals.
No kidding.
And at the time, it wasn't grasped onto in any way, shape or form. And I represented it at another occasion with Paul, I believe, and he didn't sort of see it. But I played this lick in the first part of the verse to David, and he grasped onto it immediately.
I had to bite the bugger.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely,
fact
which was exhilarating for me because I could see that there was definitely a possibility for this whole thing. And then we just started sparking off each other and started to construct the overall thing from there.
Wow. That's Album Network's world premiere broadcast. The new album from David Coverdale and Jimmy Page, and that song kicks off the whole album. It's called Shake My Tree. Indeed. A song that you're probably familiar with by now is Pride and Joy, which radio stations across the continent have been playing for the last month or so. As David Coverdale tells it, Pride and Joy went under a different name for quite a while.
The working title was Barbados Boogie.
And why is that?
Well, I had this jolly I thought after all the keys he was handing me and these, what is it you call it, the vocal gymnastics? Vocal gymnast.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd come up with this, what I thought was going to be a simple kind of Dr. John Barrel House boogie. And this, relatively modest key for me to articulate on. And then, of course, he had to put in this enormous gutter, disgusting, churning, malevolent, sucking riff, which, it was impossible for me to stay in the same register. I had to go back up there amongst the pigeons.
He's getting a real perverse pleasure. Jimmy's getting.
The worked me out. It was the Jimmy Page vocal workout.
Mind you, you get the last laugh because of the harmonica solo. I mean, when I did that, I was just absolutely knackered for 2 hours. I hadn't played it since my teens.
It was funny. When
That's you blowing harp?
Yeah.
Jimmy, that's you blowing harp?
Yeah.
Serious harp. I'm the only blues singer who doesn't play harp. When I was a kid, I was playing harmonica, sucking and blowing, and my father, and don't take anything that's the wrong way, because it must have been an awful cacophony of sound, ripped it out of my hands and hammered it flat on the back kitchen stoop and said, "Here, get a tune out of that," which resembled some kind of metal taco.
But how did he really feel about your harmonica playing?
I think that summed it up. He didn't get a boner. But no, Jimmy actually, because I was hearing a wild, this is once again his overview, I was hearing a wild and wacky guitar solo. And I came down, we were doing pre-production prior to going to the studio in Reno, Nevada. And I came down, it was my birthday, and he said, "Here, have a listen to this." And it just blew me away. And he said, "That's your birthday present. For the rest of the day, you can tell everyone you played it." I said, "Who the hell am I going to play it to?"
I mean, I can see the headlines now. Jimmy Page blows harp. I mean, it's going to be in all of the rock and roll magazines. And And it's going to say Jimmy Page blows harp, and in smaller type right underneath the subheadline.
David didn't.
David didn't. what kind of a white English blues singer are you?
I know.
Don't blow harp.
Some toilet paper in the kazoo. I'll be fine.
Take me to your river, baby. Take me to your sea.
Okay, David, Jimmy's not here. It's just you and I.
Oh, this is an illusion?
Yeah.
You mean I've been on major narcotics for 2 years?
Absolutely.
I didn't know?
Jimmy's left the room. It's just you and me. He has no idea what we're talking about. After working with many good guitar players, through Deep Purple to all the different incarnations and lineups of Whitesnake, and you had some good ones in there.
Yes.
Who all, with the exception of Blackmore, who all learned to play by copying Jimmy Page's licks. What's it like to hear it from the real deal? From
Mr. Governor.
From the source.
The alchemist. The maestro. He really is. He genuinely is. I can, through working with him now, I can, well, not fully comprehend, because Jimmy has this visionary overview. I have an overview, but he's got a visionary sense with his overview. He's the only guitarist I've ever worked with who looks at the song and how to improve the song rather than waiting for the opportunity to be flash on the guitar solo. I'm deadly serious. He looks, if you listen to the album, you'll find certain songs which don't even have a guitar solo. But that has nothing to do with the fact that the symphonic structures, there's nothing that steps on anybody else's toes. There's so much information on this album. A lot of it sounds relatively simple, but there are beautiful points in there. For instance, one of the reasons his work with Zeppelin is so exemplary is that you discover something new every time you sit down to enjoy it or whatever. Well, not particularly sit down, but get up and jog to it or whatever. It's wonderful, wonderful to work with such an artist. It's wonderful to work with somebody who looks at the song first.
It must be a bit of an eye-opener after working with all of these, like I said, popular and competent.
A general who's who.
Competent guitar players over the years. But
Has he come back yet, or?
No, he's still
Okay.
out. It must be really something, though, to get it from the source.
The horse's mouth.
To
without a doubt.
realize that
I hear.
I thought that was so-and-so's lick. My God, he lifted that off of Jimmy.
I know who was the genesis momentum of it all. The origin of that particular force of a moving body. It's him, mate. It's him. Is he back yet?
He just walked in.
Well, I have to go out now.
Fragmented moments of bitterness from the voice of David Coverdale on the song Over Now. It sounds as if it could have appeared on side 3 of Physical Graffiti from Led Zeppelin, but it's Coverdale Page. I'm Redbeard, and you're listening to Album Network's world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page. Back after this.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Page. Welcome back to Album Network's world premiere of Coverdale Page.
And I'm Redbeard. This next song is called Whisper a Prayer for the Dying. David Coverdale told me that it was inspired by the images he saw on television during the Gulf War.
I discussed everything. I mean, everything that Jimmy and I did, we discussed. You know, I wanted the lyric to be as important for him as it is for me, and also, you know, as personal. You know, we wanted this to be a joint project from top to bottom. And I discussed with him the idea of the images that I was receiving in terms of the music, the tragedy of the images that
Of the Gulf War.
Of the Gulf War. It was left an indelible imprint on me. It really scared me that I was watching live people being killed on live television.
And keeping score, electronic, almost like a video game.
And of course, you have that reflective piece, the initial introduction to the song, and then it goes into this juggernaut tank riff. You know, which is, I mean, it just screamed imagery to me, and I received his blessing. I couldn't sing my, I was going to say usual, but I don't like that. I celebrate and denigrate love and relationships in my lyrics because it's still the most inspiring thing for me.
Oh, yeah.
But particularly on that song, there wasn't any kind of love involved at all. It was this testimonial to the horror that these kids have to go through in war. And sit and watch it, and both of us at this moment in time, when there's a teetering on another potential crisis. Well, there's crisis everywhere, really.
Seems like it just...
we just sincerely hope that it isn't too timely.
I hear the sound of distant thunder echo all around.
World premiere broadcast of the brand new Coverdale Page album. It's going to be in the stores this Tuesday, and I've got a feeling a lot of folks are going to be waiting for those doors to open first thing in the morning. I should mention that some of the other musicians on this record include, on drums, Denny Carmassi, who many of you know as a member of Heart, Ricky Phillips, former Bad English bass player, playing bass also Jorge Casas from, of all places, Gloria Estefan's band. So quite a variety of players on this album. But according to David Coverdale, the key to this project was sitting down and writing the songs together with Jimmy Page.
We have an absolute common denominator in the fact that we adore the blues as an expressive vehicle for... I mean, the circumstance is I'm a frustrated guitarist. I compose the more melodic songs on piano because I'm more restricted. And as Mr. Page knows, I tend to get into flights of fancy given the opportunity on a six-string. But what I tried to do when Jimmy presented me ideas was to realize what he would do if he was a singer, because he most certainly fulfilled what I would love to achieve if I was a guitarist. We realized each other, interpreted each other's feelings to the max.
I mean, we were sparking off of each other all the way through the construction of these songs, and coming back to them at a latter point, revisiting, finessing them.
Revisiting a great deal.
Yes.
Taking on prisoners mentality.
So we were putting a lot of work and thought into them.
And having fun at the same time.
Oh, no doubt about that.
Very good friendship. And what was absolutely... There wasn't even a discussion of checking egos at the door, because I didn't discover any ego from this man whatsoever. There was no, we shouldn't do this. We didn't sit down and say, let's do a Lead Snake album. That was far from it. We just wrote songs. Yeah. And because it was the two of us sitting down there, it's undeniably recognizable on both sides. It's a wonderful blending of two musicians.
Going way back in his roots, all the way back to Smokey Robinson and Tracks of My Tears. That song is Take a Look at Yourself with David Coverdale and Jimmy Page. Of course, Coverdale on lead vocal. I'm Redbeard, and if you didn't catch the information on how to become eligible to win one of 4 autographed Epiphone Les Paul guitars backed by Gibson, then stay till the end of tonight's show, and we shall repeat it for you. There's more to come when Album Network's world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page continues.
We are both confident that we've tickled, teased, provoked, promoted, inspired the absolute best out of each other that we're capable of at this particular time in our lives as a bonding unit. This is the best I could do personally.
That's the voice of David Coverdale, who, along with Jimmy Page and yours truly, Redbeard, are hosting Album Network's world premiere broadcast of the album Coverdale Page.
A song that I believe could become an absolute standard is Take Me for a Little While. I don't know if you realize what you've got here, but I think it's going to become very evident. When we start playing it all here in North America, you got this gorgeous, crystalline, heavenly acoustic guitar, very tender vocal verses, and then a killer chorus that just really bangs in. Tell me about writing Take Me for a Little While.
Well, curiously enough, when I was in Tahoe, I had a house that we rented for the project, and I had my family there, and I remember actually writing this, the melody and the chorus, while looking at my son. He was just playing, and I was just playing. Well, anyway, I presented that to David as, just a verse and a chorus at this point of just the chord structure as such and the tinkly guitar.
And it lent itself to a reflective piece.
You need to give your son some writers on that.
He's a very inspiring kid. He's a beautiful boy.
It's a gorgeous song.
But it's both Jimmy and I have experienced great loss, not only publicly in terms of John Bonham, with me, with Tommy Bolin. There's been a lot of sacrifices in our lives and stuff for our commitment to what we do. That's not a Chrysler ad, is it? Commitment to excellence. And I said the feeling I was getting from this song was a very reflective piece of sitting there in front of a fire and just thinking over the past. Thinking about, and then just needing that absolute, when it just gets too much, when, the tragedies or sacrifices and dreams or whatever, ambitions have fallen by the by, or a relationship hasn't worked. To sit there and before you get, to run a hot bath and ask for a Wilkinson sword edge, somebody to come in and just, hang on the shoulder.
Now my days are growing cold. All the memories
Saving some of the best for last. That's Take Me for a Little While. And there you have it. All 11 songs from Coverdale Page. A reminder that the album will be available this Tuesday. There's also a tour being worked on as we speak. And in addition to all of the songs from this album, you can count on hearing both Whitesnake and Led Zeppelin songs when the Coverdale Page live show comes through your town. Now, in honor of tonight's world premiere broadcast, we've gotten together with the folks from Gibson Guitars and are giving you the opportunity to win an Epiphone Les Paul guitar, autographed by Mr. Page and Mr. Coverdale. We've got 4 of them, so here's what you do. On a postcard, include your name, address, day, and evening phone numbers, age, and the radio station you're listening to, and send it to Coverdale Page World Premiere, Post Office Box 10655, Burbank, California, 91510. All entries must arrive by Friday, March 26th. At that time, we'll randomly select 4 grand prize winners for the autographed Epiphone Les Paul guitars. Plus, 125 runners-up will win Brightwire Gibson guitar strings. We'll come back and wrap things up right after this. You've been listening to Album Network's world premiere broadcast of Coverdale Page, brought to you by Sears, Mounds, and by Denting Gum. Special production and editing by Rick R.J. Lane. Thanks to Album Network's Donna Geisinger, Neil Bird, Marcia Longo, and Vanessa Rocky. To Steve Saslow and June Brody of SJS Entertainment, New York. To Kevin Walsh and Gibson Guitars. And to Rick Stevens, Carol Davis, and the staff of the record plant in Hollywood. Special thanks and a big round of applause go to Howard Kaufman, Denny Rosenkrantz, and Nina Avramides of HK Management, to Brian Good of Outrider Management, and to Alan Orman, Warren Christensen, Bill Bennett, Susan Naramore, and Karen Fernandez of Geffen Records. The Coverdale Page world premiere broadcast was written by Mark Felsot and produced by yours truly, Redbeard, and Mark Felsot. The executive producers for the Album Network, Stephen R. Smith and Tommy Nash.